Alright, and it's time for episode 22 of the Women's Cricket Podcast, a place where we talk about all things women's cricket. Neha, like always, welcome to the studio. Welcome to yet another episode. Hi, आज तो genuinely बहुत ज़्यादा है बात करने के लिए.
Hi Akshay, again really happy to be here. Episode 22 obviously does bring in a lot of talking points. I think more importantly just the England-India tour. I know the focus is right now on the men's side of things. The match is underway as we talk right now. But the women's tour too, which gets underway on 28th. The team just departed yesterday. We were just discussing about the cake cutting and a lot of other things happening there. Fortunately, no cake smashing. Sorry to go on a tangent there, but a lot of things did happen in the world of women's cricket. Just excited to unbox all of them.
Yeah, I guess a good way of putting it is that finally we've also got something to talk about Team India, because the last couple of episodes Team India was on the down low. They were training, they were practicing. ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं था बात करने के लिए, and of course now we are here. We'll be talking about that amongst other things. Since you've already brought that up, let us talk about it. India versus England, or rather England versus India. The first T20I starts on the 28th of June. It's coming live from Trent Bridge, Nottingham, and then you of course from there go to Bristol, to London, to Manchester and Birmingham, which reminds me of someone else's itinerary too, but yeah, no.
Someone knows it at the back of it.
Exactly. But lots to be discussed. I know T20Is क्यों खेल रहे हैं, ODI World Cup का साल है, so what's happening there? But make no mistake, there's also a T20I World Cup that'll happen a year from now, and जिसका schedule आ चुका है before even the men's T20 World Cup.
We had to be salty about it.
Exactly, salty and also low-key proud कि भाई देखो women's cricket में कम से कम युवा, not that gender played any role, it's down to boards and all of it, but whatever, we'll take the wins as they come. Now that digression aside, England-India, what are you looking forward to? Just initial thoughts.
I think a blockbuster series is definitely on cards. England probably got off to the finest possible starts they could have asked for under Nat Brandt and Charlotte Edwards. For England, this is probably going to be a massive test of a lot of aspects, right? They're going to be missing the likes of Heather Knight. Sarah Glenn is not a part of
the series,
in any capacity. There are a lot of, new...
Maya Boucher as well, for what it's worth. She's also not going to be there.
Exactly, yeah. So there's also, the fresh blooding of a set of players into the squad as well. It's definitely going to be an interesting series, even for India, right? This is probably the last recognized ODI series. I mean, they have the Australia one, but at least overseas, the last recognized ODI series they are playing. So a couple of areas to still iron out and figure. If they win, it just gives them a world of confidence heading into the World Cup. So yeah, I think just looking forward to seeing how India kind of fares overseas, and just not take the series lightly, because with the vision of the T20 World Cup next year, probably, figuring out some combinations here will, kind of set them right. I think we've also discussed at length about the selections, right? How this time it hasn't been that shocking or, something that has really gotten us speaking as much.
Yeah.
So I hope the team can do justice to, the kind of thought process that has gone behind the selection, and it kind of does reflect in the results.
I mean, when it comes to selections, I agree with you. Most of them were as per our expectations, barring a couple maybe where in terms of the backups they went for, they could have probably gone ahead with someone else. But again, that's us also being a bit nitpicky कि यार ये होना चाहिए था. We'll never get 100% of what we want. That's what even, who was it? Seema Taparia from Indian Matchmaking said. So, like you say, you know what? Matchmaking dunya se cricket tak, everything is connected. Yeah. But about the series itself, we will talk about the T20Is mainly because the ODIs are a good month away. I would say 16th of July is when it begins. So, about a month or so. So, we'll review it or preview it, closer to the dates. Talking about the T20Is, England announced the squad. We've spoken about both the squads individually. Now, when we look at how they might match up or stack against each other. The last time these two sides, of course, took on in a limited overs contest was in 2022, which was also, Jalan Goswami's sort of... guard of honor was given and all of that, like you mentioned, off air. But what are some of the, key pointers that you're keeping an eye out for, when it comes to players especially? We'll start with Team India. Yeah. You know the squad. You know more or less the kind of 11 you can expect. Shefali Verma is now making a comeback. The last time India played T20Is early on in Jan and then last December. Nahi thi tab. Happy with Shefali Verma's inclusion, I would imagine. But how do you then see that 11 shaping up?
Yeah, I mean, again, an interesting one to probably start off our discussion here, because Shefali Verma getting included was definitely a sign of good things to come. For the longest time, I think I've vouched for, looking at players for specific formats. Shefali Verma perfectly fits that bill, has performed exceedingly well in the domestics, kind of warrant her place in the side, has done well in the WPL. And to just see her, being considered, being given that contract and looked at as an option for this series is good, right? She's definitely a lock-in with Smriti Mandana to open. Even the rest of the batting, we don't have the likes of Uma Chetri, you don't have Raghavi Bishan, all of them.
Yeah.
So probably India will go with Harleen at number 3, or do you still see them, wanting to get a Jemima there at number 3? Because right now she's been doing well at number 5. There's no reason why they would want to, again, mix up with that. But Harman is definitely at
4. Yeah, that goes without saying. Harman, Richa at 4 and 6 respectively, I think are lock-ins.
Yeah.
About 3 and 5, I think they will be sticking to Jemmy at 5. I don't see them tinkering with it because that's been Jemmy's best position for the last 2-3 years. She's been great over there, averaging in excess of 30, striking in excess of 140. Those are phenomenal numbers for any batter, let alone someone batting at number 5, who is in general expected to be a lot more aggressive.
So Harleen makes her cut, right, at number 3 right now with the options.
I mean, Harleen is my number 3 not by choice. Abhi, jo squad hai, there aren't too many other batting options that I would be looking at, which is why, unfortunately or fortunately for her, Harleen will be there. And she was a part of the series the last time these two sides played, if you remember that catch and all of it.
Iconic one.
Yeah, she went viral. So let's hope she gives us...
right reasons.
Yeah, and she gives us more reasons to hype her up this time as well.
And in the WPL, right, she actually did have a good run for Gujarat Giants, emerging as one of the, major positives as well. Although there were concerns with, the strike rate side of things, was it, her batting position getting tinkered around all through the season. I think she's definitely going to be a lock-in for India at number.
Yeah, and again with the WPL as well, for me personally, I wouldn't call it a good run. Again, I'll be a bit more harsh because she's someone who's experienced, but she had, no one can forget that knock that came in Gujarat's chase. It was their highest ever chase, if I'm not wrong. Fantastic knock, 80 odd of 50 balls, 70 odd of 40-ish balls, if I'm not wrong, something there and thereabouts. Great stuff. I just hope she's able to replicate such knocks a lot more consistently.
Considering she's coming in at a position where, after the fall of a wicket, you would want that sort of an enforcer, and I hope she doesn't go into a shell, right?
Yeah.
Because that number 3 position has been, like a bone of contention for just the longest time, and it makes sense, right? If you have a solid, top 6, top 7, it just gives something to your bowlers, because we did talk about previously as well that India's bowling, especially the pace reserves, does look a little thin, right? We were so excited to see Kashvi. She's ruled out.
Yep.
Kranti Gaud, again, this is her first overseas tour. It's obviously a lot to put on a young, young shoulder, just so much load. You also have the likes of Arundhati Reddy. We're missing Pooja Vastrikar. Renuka Singh Thakur is not there. Titash Sadhu is not there.
Amanjot Kaur is the third pacer, exactly. Let's just have the squad out. When you look at the names over here, I mean, there you go. You've got someone like a Saili Sadgare if you really want to sort of give someone a go as a pace bowling all-rounder, who I think is more of a bowling all-rounder than, say, an Amanjot Kaur. Exactly. But England mein seedha jaake khilana as one of your second or third pacer. ऐसा भी नहीं कि she won't be expected to bowl 4 overs. If she plays, she will be expected to bowl 4 overs. नहीं तो Amanjot Kaur would invariably be your third pacer behind Kranti and Arundhati, and that also does not sit well with me. When you're playing in England, that too. अगर India में भी होता, I would have probably said, what, spinners hai, let's make do with the spinners. But I don't think that will work just as well in England. Now, when you look at the other names, you've got someone like a Yastika Bhatia as a backup, number 3. I don't know right now how is Team India looking at her, because we've hardly seen her, right? Domestic cricket, WPL was very woeful. Uske baad, there was the Senior Women's Multi-Day Challenger Trophy. But outside that, she's also not had a lot of game time. To be honest, if she is in good nick, something that we wouldn't be privy to, I wouldn't mind seeing her start ahead of Harleen Deol at number 3. But as the incumbent and as someone who's had a better WPL, I would imagine Harleen would start. But
absolutely, yeah.
Personally, I would still want. I think Yastika has a higher ceiling. But dekhte kya hota, how does Team India look at this?
And probably another interesting name included here is that of Sneh Rana, right? I mean, making a comeback to the Indian limited over side after quite a long hiatus, right? I mean, the last I remember her is probably in that T20
World Cup 23. Yeah, 23 T20 World Cup was the last T20.
Yeah, so really pleased to see her being included. We've seen the kind of heroics she can produce on English soil. I hope she does get those opportunities. But does she slot in your playing 11 immediately? Because Deepti Sharma is definitely making the cut. But Sneh Rana again as your second spinner.
So that's why now let's try and build the 11.
Chalo.
You've got Shefali, you've got Smriti, Harleen at number 3. Yastika is also a choice. We'll just put that out there.
Harman at 4.
Harman at 4. Jemmy at 5. Richa at 6. Your top 6 is sorted. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Amanjot.
Amanjot at 7. Deepti at 8. 9, Arundhati. 10, 11. Now I need one more pace at least.
Kranti?
Between Kranti and Sali, yeah, I'll go with Kranti because at number 10, I don't need a batter.
Yeah.
I don't care if that person bats or not. Number 9, Arundhati, I think that's decent enough batting depth, given that you've got Amanjot and Deepthi at 7 and 8.
Exactly.
So 10, 11, you can go for 2 bowlers, and उसमें भी spinner में तो जो भी spinner आएगा bat करेगा. Shri Charni can handle herself with a bat. Radha Yadav can handle herself with a bat.
Exactly,
Sneh Rana can handle herself with a bat. So you've got batting options there. So that pacer will invariably slot in at number 11. Kranti Gaud, it has to be. She's the only frontline pacer we have, bhai. No one else. We've only got pace bowling all-rounders, and then you've got Kranti Gaud. And I'm, of course, including Arundhati here as a pace bowling all-rounder. I know I might receive a lot of flack for that. About the spinner itself, we'll first have to look at the England squad to understand what kind of batters they have. And there you go. Some of the names have, like, when we try and build their 11 too, you've got someone like a Danny White opening for them, along with Sophia Dunkley. At least that was the pair they went ahead with for the West Indies games.
Yeah.
But that was when Heather Knight was batting at number 4. And unfortunately, her missing out now means they will have to try and rejig a bit of that order. They'll have to see who fits in.
And blood and a little bit of experience too in there, right?
That's true. So who are you looking at? Is Tammy Beaumont someone you would want to bring in, or would you look at someone like a Paige Schofield or someone else?
I think because this is a massive series versus India, Tammy Beaumont is like an experienced customer. I'd probably want her and Danny White to open. Use Sophia Dunkley somewhere in that middle order. Because
As a floater.
Yeah, as a floater. Nat Silverbrandt comes in at 3. You have, probably Paige Schofield coming in at 4. Then you can have Sophia Dunkley coming in at 5, Alice Capsey at 6. Do you think that deepens the batting order as well? Gives you a little bit of bowling option too with Alice Capsey?
I'm just trying to think, for them to be able to do that, someone will have to go out. Like, if they directly replace Heather Knight with Tammy Beaumont, and if you want to squeeze Paige Schofield too, then Sophia Dunkley will have to miss out. So you can't add an extra batter, or else they'll have to then compromise on their bowling, which I don't think they can afford to at this point in time.
Yeah.
The bowling is something that they will want to strengthen as much as possible.
And the return of Sophie Eccleston has definitely helped their case, right? She's going to be spearheading that bowling attack, yeah.
That's true. Let's go with your lineup. You've got Tammy and Danny. Then at number 3, you've got Nat Silverbrandt. Number 4, let's go ahead with Amy Jones. Okay. Number 5, Sophia Dunkley. I'm just trying to think they won't want to drop Sophia Dunkley. She didn't do too badly. Yeah. Especially in that third T20, if I'm not wrong, she got that 70-80 odd. So number 5, you've got Sophia Dunkley. Number 6, you've got Alice Capsey. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now, number 8, I know it'll be Sophie Eccleston. 9, 10, 11.
M. Arlott.
M. Arlott is one of the pacers. Lindsay Smith, that's one of the names we'll have to discuss. Yeah. And you've got Lauren Bell, Lauren Filer too. So if they want 3 pacers, including Nat Silverbrandt, they'll need 2 lower down. Between M and both the Laurens, they'll have to pick 2.
It's a tough call, actually.
Yeah, because each of them bring in value. They add a different dimension to their attack. Like when you look at Lauren Filer, it's that out and out pace. M. Arlott, she was really consistent. She was very metronomical, if I can say that. When it came to that West Indies series, at least, consistently bowling those in between lengths, making it harder for the pacer. Making it harder for the batters. Not very pacey, but you just need one of those kind of bowlers who can use the surface a bit. Lauren Bell, we know what she can do with the new ball. She's developed those in-swingers. She was always an outswing bowler, and now with the ball moving both ways, she can wreak havoc with the new ball. Now, who do they pick? So, 2 out of the 3. We'll get to that too. So, 2 out of the 3 pacers, Lindsay Smith, Sophie Eccleston. So, 8, 9, 10, 11 is done. Now, number 7. Who do they go? Like, I've always felt Freya Kemp is a name they should have been playing, but squad में नहीं है वो फिलहाल तो उसका छोड़ देते हैं. तो squad में भी when we look at some of the names over here, you've got someone like an Izzy Wong who's made a comeback. You've also got Charlie Dean. Of course, we missed out on Charlie Dean. So if you want to play Lindsay Smith, it cannot be at the cost of Charlie Dean, right? Like both will have to play. So how do you then look at it?
Yeah, I think it's honestly going to be a tough one. I'm quite surprised we didn't talk about Charlie Dean. I think everyone was just obsessing so much on Sarah Glenn getting dropped that we didn't discuss Charlie Dean. I think again, Charlie Dean has done, good deal for herself in the sense, she has been performing well consistently and can probably, make it into that side. But then you already have Sophie Eccleston and probably Lindsay Smith who are going to make it there. So for you, does it then become a case between Lindsay Smith versus Charlie Dean? And are you looking at it from that sense? Because definitely both can't make it in, right?
Both cannot make it in. I don't see how both make it in unless they give Sophie Eccleston a promotion and bat her at number 7. So I don't know if that will happen. If that doesn't happen, then maybe another choice they will have is Tammy Dani, number 3 Natsa Vibrant, number 4 Paige Caulfield, number 5 Sophia Dunkley, number 5 Amy Jones, number 6 Sophia Dunkley, number 7 Alice Capsey as your finisher. 8, 9, 10, 11, you go for 4 bowlers and Sophie Eccleston, 2 pacers, it can be any of them, and one of Lindsay Smith or Charlie Dean, and I'll go ahead with Charlie Dean. Only because I would want a right arm off spinner too. You know how Smriti plays against off spin. You also want to have that matchup option in general. India might not have too many left-hand batters, but thoda variation to mangta. You can't. That's how I look at it. But Lindsay Smith arguably has been one of the better bowlers for them.
Exactly.
So, and we all remember what Charlotte Edwards said also on comms, if I'm not wrong. It was during the Vitality Blast, where she was like, Lindsay and Sophie are our best bowlers, period. So they will play. So going by her words, I would imagine both will play along with 2 pacers. And now circling back to the India playing 11. We were talking about now, do they go ahead with Sneh Rana? Do they go ahead with a left-arm spinner in, say, Sri Charni or Radha Yadav? England's batting lineup, at least with the one that we've spoken about.
Light heavy.
Are there any left-handers? There are none.
Yeah, I think besides Freya Kemp, who's definitely not a part of the setup.
There's none. Like, top 3 to pata hi hai. There's none. You've got Paige, Amy, Alice, Sophia. None of them are left-handers. In fact, I don't think the playing 11 has a left-hander. Come to think of it, because Sophie Eccleston is right, I know Emma Litt is right, I know Lauren Filer is right. Lauren Bell, for some reason, I think is left-handed. Irrespective, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And so I guess maybe then going for a left-arm spinner almost becomes imperative. You at least want to have that matchup option. You might not use it extensively.
Then someone like a Radha Yadav or Sri Charni can really make a case for themselves ahead of Sneh Rana.
Yeah.
In all likelihood.
Yeah, and once again, another caveat, assuming that Deepti Sharma's own spot is locked in. The reason I add that caveat is because Sneh Rana genuinely has been bowling well.
Yeah.
For the last 4, 5, 6 months, I don't casually say कि Deepti Sharma शायद droppable है, नहीं है, बिल्कुल नहीं है, but Sneh Rana has done wonders to herself. Yeah. In terms of ensuring कि she's right up there, कि boss अगर कहीं से भी एक मौका मिल जाता है, then I can chip in. So, but I would still go ahead with Sri Charni right now. Radha Yadav, the last time we saw, she just looked bad. Downright bad. Nothing going well for her. Bat, ball, कुछ भी काम नहीं चल रहा था. I know people want to talk about her as that package. Who are you backing?
Yeah, it's honestly a tough one, because with Radha Yadav, obviously, the kind of package she brings in, be it her batting, bowling, which has not seen that great days, but her fielding too, right? An absolute athlete on the field. But again, with Sri Charni, I think she is that left field choice. England hasn't really probably seen enough footage of her to, kind of dissect and do that. I mean, we've seen her a fair bit in the WPL.
Nat would have seen her. Final mein to kheli thi.
Yeah, very closely from close quarters. But I'd still probably give Radha Yadav the edge. I'd want to see how she, kind of fares. The fact that the team management thinks, that she can come in as an immediate replacement for Shuchi Upadhyay means that they see some capacity or some capability in her. So I'm just probably going to give Radha Yadav that little bit of an edge, because she brings in that sort of athleticism and
bit of experience.
And the experience, obviously. Yeah.
That's where my heart goes out to someone like Tanuja Kanwaria. I can't believe against this lineup, even if Heather Knight was there, that's still very right-hand dominated. Why would you not go ahead with a good left-arm spinner? Make no mistake, I'm not saying Radha is bad or someone else is bad, but Tanuja wasn't great. Domestic circuit, maybe WPL, maybe. Like, what's the reason to not even give her a shot ahead of someone like a Radha Yadav? You've anyway dropped Radha Yadav clearly. Now, when Shuchi Upadhyay got injured, like, again, maybe whatever.
I mean, we were very baffled by the kind of choices that India did make in the spin department too. We miss Asha, Shobna.
आशा तो इंजर्ड है, श्रेयांका इंजर्ड है, मतलब ये अभी हम अज्यूम कर रहे हैं, बोला नहीं है. Priya Mishra, again, agree with you, like not sure. Not sure what the reasoning there is. We and I don't think we'll know, but I guess we just have to say water under the bridge and move on. So, given that, so personally, I guess we will go ahead with someone. I would personally go ahead with. I would actually go to Sri Charni.
Okay.
Not withstanding the fact that Radha Yadav offers that package, great fielder, can offer some value with the bat. Sri Charni bowling के साथ अच्छा करती है, and I need someone who bowls well. Like I said, number 10 पे तुम batting नहीं भी करोगे चलेगा मेरे को. Radha's fielding definitely makes me think, because that is a great value add, long on long off पे hotspots में अगर आप अपने सारे catches पकड़ते हो, that goes a long way in helping you win games. But looking at their primary skills, I would go ahead with Sri Charni. She wasn't too bad in the latter half of the WPL, wasn't too bad in the Tri-Series, and clearly these people rate them. very clearly. इसीलिए, despite her being so young, they've gone ahead with her.
Even Danny Wyatt Hodge, in one of those reels we did see during the WPL was talking to Sri Charan, just having a conversation.
Oh,
with her,
okay.
And actually did, compliment her for her bowling as well. I should probably send you that reel and share it with our viewers as well. But it was a very interesting chat that they
Okay.
did have.
Wasn't aware
Danny
of
Wyatt
this.
Hodge has seen someone, an
Exactly.
eye for talent maybe.
Yeah, and she herself is one of the better players of spin in women's cricket. It's not
by a
some
mile.
not some Tom, Dick and Harry we're talking about. So fair enough. अगर उन्होंने भी बोला and ये लोग तो बोल ही रहे, so worth a punt.
Yeah.
You've got about 8 months there. Oh, sorry, you've got about 12 months for the T20 World Cup, the women's one that is. You've got a fair few T20Is coming up, so good time to just blood her in, get her into the system and give her a few games.
I see where this argument is also coming from.
So understandable. And with Sneerana, once again, it's not that she's done any wrong, it's just that the team requires something else. It's unfortunately the way sport works. You can't always get games just because you're good.
Or on merit.
Yeah, that requirement wala, you'll have to look at it. Does your team require a right arm off spinner right now? I would say no, given that Deepti Sharma is there.
Deepti Sharma has also played for London Spirit in the 100, so that again
Good
kind
experience.
of just pushes her case even more. Yeah.
Agree with you there. Completely agree with you. And push comes to shove, इतना उनको matchup वाला अगर आता है, Shefali Remy है. Like if you want to talk as an off spinner, like again, just saying push comes to shove, they run out of options, someone gets injured, they need a spinner. है part timer ही से कुछ तो
It's sad you didn't mention Harman, but okay.
Oh, that's
a little sad.
Yeah, agree. I also would have been sad, but that's only because Harman the captain does not rate Harman the bowler so much, so I don't care. Unless Smriti was captaining or someone else was captaining, then I would have probably taken Harman's name.
Fair.
But that's the Indian lineup we're looking at. The 11 would look somewhat this way.
Yeah.
Now, when we stack it up versus the England 11, how do you then look at the kind of spinners they'll go for? Because it's not like India has too many left-handers. Barring Smriti at the top and Deepti at number 8, it's also fairly dominated by right-handers. You've already got Sophie Ecclestone, Charlie Dean. She's got experience, was also touted to be a contender for captaincy.
Till she declined it, yeah.
Any reason why Lindsay Smith starts ahead of Charlie Dean? Because again, like Deepti Sharma for India, I'm not saying same, but there are similarities. दोनों मतलब London Spirit के लिए भी खेले थे, come to think of it.
Yeah.
हाँ, but that aside, again, great off spinner, lot of experience. When I say lot of experience, she's still young, but she's played a fair few games for England and also domestically. Knows the conditions like the back of her hand. So Lindsay versus Charlie, which side?
Again, a tough one. Lindsay Smith, I remember, coming across an interview of hers where she spoke about, making her debut way back in 2018 or so, and then just being, off the radar, with respect to English selections for the longest time. Kind of staking her claim back to the side on the back of some really good domestic performances. Even in the series versus West Indies, right? She was just impeccable with her line and length, the kind of wickets she eventually ended up getting as well. So I really think, considering the kind of momentum she's in, it would just be fair to her to just continue giving her that sort of a long rope and see how she bowls in tandem with someone like a Sophie Ecclestone. So my heart still says Lindsay Smith would be a good option, at least for the first few ODIs, because this is a longer T20I series as opposed to the ODI leg, right? So you can probably bring in Charlie Dean a little later on and see how Lindsay Smith fares against the Indian batters as well. So for me, at least right now, it looks Lindsay Smith probably a little more than Charlie Dean. Yeah.
It's complicated in that I agree with what you said. I completely am with you. In fact, I'll also go one step further and say India anyway have 5 right-handers in their top 6, so it makes even more sense to go for someone who takes the ball away from them. And Lindsay Smith, like if you're able to bombard them with spinners taking the ball away from them, on both ends, that would probably make it even more easier. And then bowling in tandem might result in more pressure being created and more wickets as a consequence. I get all of it, but that's where Charlie Dean, recent form agreed, ज़्यादा अच्छा नहीं रहा. Charlotte Edwards ने भी already statement दे दिया. Lindsay, Sophie are the best spinners in the country. Well, I guess they'll have to just then look past Charlie Dean at this point in time, which I I don't think I would have thought of it this way, say even a couple of months ago. So, I mean, that's how fickle the format is, so you can understand. But interesting, I agree with you, I guess. I was hoping that at least midway, I'll come up with something to say in her defense, but kuch nahi hai.
It's tough, because I think Charlotte Edwards is that sort of a communicator. She's extremely transparent, she's frank. If she's, she calls a spade, and with respect to how she really values the domestic setup, and she always encourages players to kind of go back and work on their skills and then stake a claim back. Even with the Sarah Glenn exclusion, right? She did mention how there's a chance for her to now go back, play the Vitality Blast for the Blaze and then, kind of work her way back up, which is a proper clear sense of direction. Unlike in some other countries, take the case of India itself, right, where the players are just left in the lurch and they're just not given any sense of direction as to what they need to do. And even the way our domestic calendar is kind of scheduled makes it really difficult for players to, actually just go back and start producing miracles. There's like a huge layoff. With England, there's matches happening constantly. So at least the players feel like, hey, I can still, come back to the setup. I just need to, keep working on my skills domestically. So I wouldn't be too worried for Charlie Dean. And they have the 100 that's coming up later too. So
and the Blast going on concurrently if they want to really, give her a bit more game time.
Exactly.
For me, more than the setup itself, Charlotte Edwards is someone I've really grown to love across leagues, be it the Stars down south, or be it, even the Southern Brave. When it comes to the 100, Mumbai Indians, of course, we've seen what a title-winning machine they've become in just 3 seasons. So clearly, she knows what it takes to build a good team, a good process in place, firstly, because irrespective of formats, certain basics don't change. You have to come up with the pipeline, you have to have a certain structure in place, a certain process or set of processes in place, and that's what Charlotte Edwards excels in.
And she's also someone who's deeply invested in growing the game with respect to going to all of those domestic matches, actually understanding the players, seeing what sort of a skill set they can add. She's been a commentator herself. So, she's probably seen all these players much more up close and personal than probably us, armchair pundits. So, in that sense also, I rate her really highly.
No two questions about it. There's a reason why she's got a trophy named after her, despite her being well and truly in flesh and blood. So very happy, and that's where I think this was the kind of move, like we discussed, early on when that announcement happened. This is the kind of move that I feel will help not just the England team but also women's cricket in general. You need more teams contesting evenly. You need more teams becoming stronger. When it comes to playing cricket, they become powerhouses. Only then will the sport grow. If you've got just one team that's on top of the table every bloody time, then it just doesn't make a lot of fun for viewers. So hopefully, fingers crossed, she does well for them. And Amol Mazumdar, of course, for Team India too. Last bit, predictions. Highest run scorer, highest wicket taker for both sides. So I want one from India, one from England for both.
Yeah.
You start with the run scorers bit, I'll take the wicket takers bit.
Fine. For India, I think it's probably going to be Smriti Mandhana.
Okay.
I think she just really would, want to get into that right sort of a groove and, get started on the right note. Obviously, the bias aside, being the favorite player and all of that, I think she is someone who would really be looking to, score those crucial runs for India. For England, I'd probably go with Nat Silverbrandt. Again, I think captaincy has probably just brought out the best in her. Didn't see any problems, creeping up in her batting during that time. So I go in a very predictive line there with, Nat Silverbrandt as my pick for the highest run getter for England.
Yeah, two fairly, names that will be in the thick of things, to say the least. I'll try and go a bit left field, but I'm trying to think with England, मैंने Page का ज़्यादा देखा नहीं है, but if she bats at number 4 across the 5 T20Is, I think she'll do well. Not a name that the Indian bowlers have seen a lot of. I myself, once again, I'm saying this without having seen a lot of her, but I've heard a lot of good things about her. Recently landed a WBBL gig as well with the Perth Scorchers.
Exactly.
So it's not a joke. Clearly, she's been doing a few things right in the last couple of years. So, उनका नाम मैं लेना चाहूँगा when it comes to England. When it comes to India, I would love to see Smriti. I'd love to see Smriti. But a name that I really hope more than want to see is Shefali Verma, because it's important for her own good and for her own career that she backs up these domestic performances with a solid showing at the international level. अगर आप यहाँ पे अच्छा करके वहाँ नहीं करोगे, फिर से that conversation will boil down to domestic cricket. Now, there's no point looking at it. See, all of these players, they do well there, they don't do well here. So it is important for her to do well, so that it also shows that they won't be entirely wrong in trusting the domestic circuit. So I really hope that she does do well. And of course, her doing well means a lot more things. Smriti, usually if she does well, she'll get you those big daddy scores. But Shefali doing well means it's 25 ball 50s, 40 ball 70s that we're talking about.
Good cameos.
Exactly. That more often than not will help your side win those games. So, which is why I'm hoping that she does do well. Talking about wicket takers, I'll go first. Oh man, this is going to be very tricky. Sophie Eccleston's right there. I just want to say Sophie Eccleston and get done with, because I'm pretty sure kahin na kahin to wo hogi top mein. But once again, let me be a bit cheeky. almost countering my own point of Indian openers doing well, I'll go ahead with Lauren Bell. With the new ball, I really think she can wreak a lot of havoc. I know West Indies ke series mein she not get a lot of power play wickets, but she's been bowling well. She's slowly become a lot more accurate, and that is very important for someone who swings the ball.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that she does do well once again, and I'll go with her. For India, oh my word, man. Like, there's just so much inexperience, you don't know who's going to do well. Like, okay, I'll still go ahead with Arun Rati Reddy. A fairly safe choice, but someone who I really want to see do well, firstly, and secondly, her ability to move the ball even in the 7th, 8th over, I think that will come handy in these conditions. So yeah, spinners to bahut, I don't know how much of a role will they play, given that both these teams are stacked with batting options who can handle spin. So I'll expect these two bowlers to do well. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, from an Indian perspective, I really want to see how Deepti Sharma fares, right? Because she's someone who's constantly under fire, someone who has to always prove herself every given time that, hey, I'm here, I keep consistently performing, yet, a few bad matches you write me off. I think Deepti Sharma, considering she has the kind of experience having played in England internationally, having played in the 100, I think she's someone I would really, really, be excited to see, and I think might be amongst the wickets as well. From an England perspective, I'm really hoping someone like an M. Alert, right? It's just that her story resonated with me so much. It would be amazing to see her carry on from that rich vein of form from that West Indies series on to, a series versus India as well. This is a top flight team. You definitely, want to get in those wickets and, have the last laugh. So I'm really rooting for her to go well. And when you usually think of England paces as well, you always think of the Kate Crosses, you think of the Laurens, Bell and Filer. M. Alert is just making a mark for herself there silently, and I hope this series is that sort of a breakthrough moment for her in her career. So just keeping my fingers crossed that she would be amongst the wickets and can make that sort of a statement.
A very unassuming character that way, but for the uninitiated, thoda story bhi bata do ki how did she come up?
Yeah, I mean, M. Alert, if you just, see her story, it's been one that has, witnessed a lot of challenges, a lot, herself overcoming a lot of anxiety, self-doubt, and, just making her presence domestically, doing well there, eventually, getting a chance to make her England debut. At some point, she'd just given up hopes of, ever making that. So it's just a testament, right, to the kind of character she is. And England is a difficult team to, just make inroads because of the amount of competition. But I think it really goes to show if you do well domestically, you can always, just smash the door open and make your way into the national side. Again, due credit to Charlotte Edwards, the way, she monitors and nurtures the talent from the domestic setup and just helps them transition so seamlessly into the international side. So M. Alert is definitely a very good case study of how, it's never too late. You can actually make your presence there and kind of even breaks the myth that, hey, if you're a pacer, after a point, you probably reached the prowess of your peak and then you're like tapering off. But she's still able to retain that. So yeah, she's just another amazing character.
Definitely, and again, make no mistake, not that she's very old herself, but usually now it sort of becomes the norm, right? Seeing 20, 21-year-olds, 22, 23-year-olds, at least she's already 28 and has hardly played for England. And again, like I said, very unassuming and the kind of pacer that she is. Usually when you think of England, Australia, to some extent even West Indies, New Zealand, you think of pacers who bowl 115, 120 clicks, maybe not 120, at least 110, 115 clicks. Here's someone mid to early hundreds, not very pacey, just, typical hit the lens, just keep bowling what works for you best. And she's done that to great effect. So fingers crossed she does well. Maybe not well enough for us to lose the series. But speaking of that, scoreline predictions. Neha, kya lag raha hai? Where do you see the series headed? England, for what it's worth, again, has not had the greatest of times in the recent past when it comes to T20 bilaterals. I won't talk about Ireland, West Indies, ye wale. Think of, Sri Lanka. They lost to Sri Lanka in 2023, if I'm not wrong. Australia के सामने तो देखा ही कि क्या हाल हुआ था उनका. And talking about
versus New Zealand.
Did well versus New Zealand and India. That's why I was saying. So it's been a bit of an interesting
mixed bag.
Yeah, sort of last couple of years, I would say, when it comes to bilateral T20Is. Where do you see this top tier team? Make no mistake, irrespective of what some people might say.
I mean, it's a 5-match test T20I series, right? Definitely a lot on offer. But actually, someone I still think I'd give advantage England. I think they're going to win 3-2. India's going to give in a good fight. It's probably going to be 2-all, and all our eyes are going to be set on that 5th T20I. Fortunately, you will be getting a chance to watch all of them live. You wouldn't want to see England winning 4-1, 5-0 and all of that.
I hope not. Yeah, I hope.
India's not that tame of a side that, you just probably let go in that regard. So I'd probably say advantage England 3-2.
I don't care what the scoreline is, but I want the losing side to have at least 1-2 games. Simple as that. Simple as that. I want a closely contested series because, for what it's worth, England has won its last series. India has won its last series. If I'm not wrong, both these sides, England played South Africa in December. They won that 2-1. But barring that, if you look at the last 8 to 10 months, both sides have only played Ireland and West Indies when it comes to bilaterals. That's not saying much. You would expect your side to win against Ireland and West Indies if you're supporting India or England. They start favourites. In this case, I don't think there are clear-cut favourites. I would still say I agree with you that England edge India out simply because home conditions, and they also have someone like a Charlotte Edwards. They've got certain talents who can win games on their own. They've probably got more of those match winners. That's where India will have their task cut out for them.
They'll have to collectively come as a group to, produce that sort of results.
And that bowling attack, importantly for India, it looks, right now, it doesn't look good. Let me just put it that way. But fingers crossed, once again, you never know. From the ashes rises something new. So let's hope that someone rises over here, put their hands up. Kranti Guard, we're keeping an eye out on you.
Yes.
Fingers crossed for her as well. Kafi sare fingers crossed kar liye, but that's that from the England-India chat. We've spoken about it fairly comprehensively. Jitna bhi baat karna tha, humne baat kar liya. Now, next up, World Cups का schedule announce हो चुका है. I don't think I've ever made a statement like this. Plural में World Cup बोल रहा हूँ. दोनों World Cup के schedule आ गए. एक होने वाला है 3 महीने बाद, दूसरा होने वाला है 12 महीने बाद. And yet both have come at roughly the same time. They came in the same week, literally. But starting off, of course, with the ODI World Cup that's going to happen later this year. It's almost in my head with each episode, the countdown. I remember talking about how the ODI World Cup is 10 months away when we started the podcast. A few episodes in, I was like 8 months away. And now we're 4 months away. Soon it'll be 2, soon it'll be 1. But excitement's clearly, sort of building up. Yeah, we are definitely excited. But how were you with the venues, Neha? Because you've clearly had a thing or two to say earlier. 5 venues for the uninitiated. Colombo will be hosting all the Pakistan games, along with a fair few Sri Lanka games. When it comes to Indian venues, Bangalore, Vizag, Indore and Guwahati have been the 4 cities that have been chosen to host these games. Neha, you can just have at it.
Yeah, I mean, first things first, I think we just waited so long for the schedule to come because they just mentioned, that the World Cup is from so-and-so dates, and then, for a lot of us fans to even just to start planning and doing anything was turning out to be incredibly hard. To make it incredibly hard even more was the fact that the Women's T20 World Cup that is happening next year already, had disclosed some amazing venues, just added salt to our wounds further. We have had our, discussion and chacha a lot about the, venues chosen here in India. But actually, I think at this point, we just need to accept. There's no point, probably mulling over it and feeling upset because I hope these venues can really prove us wrong with respect to, how we were not belittling them, but we had our apprehensions about, the turnouts and everything. I still believe the top tier venues, say the likes of Bangalore, Mumbai, Chennai, Delhi, Hyderabad should have gotten, their credit, but that clearly wasn't the case. BCCI has some other ideas of growing the game at a time, when a marquee event like this could have been a good way to, use your better venues. Anyways, no complaints on that front. But just looking at the schedule, right, at large too, Bangalore seems to have gotten just very few games, right? 3
league stage games, semi-final
India
1.
Games.
Yeah, India Sri Lanka, which is the tournament opener. Then India Bangladesh, which if I'm not wrong is also the last group stage game. And beach mein there's England South Africa. A good neutral game for sure, but you would have imagined more games, and then the final,
Exactly. We would have expected some more top flight teams, squaring off against each other. At least us Bangalore folks will, try to get hold of the India tickets. If not, go for the England South Africa one because it's definitely going to be a blockbuster one. Did expect, Bengaluru to get those games, but anyways, can't complain really. But just looking at the venue, otherwise too, it's a round robin format where everyone plays the other, so it kind of puts everyone on equal footing, and we're just looking forward to seeing some great encounters.
My concern right now when it comes to the ODI World Cup is कि यार अब तो घोषित कर दो ना कि it's being jointly hosted by India and Sri Lanka, because Sri Lanka is playing 5 of their games in a single venue in Colombo And India on the other hand is playing no more than 2 at a single venue. तो मतलब मजाक चल रहा है क्या? क्या कर रहे हो आप?
Yes, exactly.
Like-
There's a lot of confusion online as well about why is it just India 2025 and not India and Sri Lanka. I mean, technically Sri Lanka is the co-host.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Hosting rights have been awarded to India, but why is Sri Lanka then playing 5 games? I get that Pakistan and India, they've signed an agreement and Pakistan
Neutral
will have to
venue.
play at a neutral venue. Play Pakistan 7 games in Colombo, done and dusted. Why is Sri Lanka playing 5 games? Like, what was the reason behind that? And to be honest, you said that every side starts at an equal footing. I would say Sri Lanka would be the happiest of the 8 sides because 5 games at a single venue, that's definitely a 5 out of 7 games, Baba. It's not even like they're playing 10 games. 5 out of 7 games are being played at a single venue, and that too, ghar pe. It's not 5 out of 7 in Bangalore, Guwahati, Indore, or Vizag. So I just couldn't make any sense off of it. Why is Colombo hosting so much? Was it logistical reasons? क्या था मेरे को नहीं पता. But irrespective, अगर logistically problem हुआ था, then you should have had some of the other sides play in Sri Lanka, not Sri Lanka play in Sri Lanka. Once again, it's home World Cup should be only for one country, the country that's hosting the event, not someone else. That was my initial thoughts. Secondly, Bangalore seemed like a very token host. It's almost like, you know, there was a lot of online chat about the fact कि यार, why isn't any of the big cities hosting the event? They're like, ठीक है भाई, you want a big city ना, we'll give you a big city, and almost like a backhanded insult. चाहिए था ना तुम्हें बड़ा city चाहिए था, लो दिया तेरे को बड़ा city, we'll only give you 3 games. देंगे नहीं तो कर लो. And it's, of course, you know, people might argue saying final, semi-final सब मिल रहा है. हाँ भाई, but games ज़्यादा भी तो दे सकते थे ना. Like I don't know, which is why I said I don't know what the thinking is.
Exactly.
It's
very bizarre because Bangalore, time and again, we've spoken so much about this. We've seen the WPL, the kind of turnouts and everything. I can write and give the same reception would have been there for not just the Indian team, even just the Women's World Cup at large. So it's just baffling that you would just give just like these many games and then be like, yeah, whatever.
मतलब कम से कम एक आध इंडिया अगर okay, if you wanted to stick to this, India, Sri Lanka, India, Bangladesh seems like a very low blow. Like कम से कम I don't know, I'll admit to the fact that as a resident Bangalorean, I might also be miffed because personally I would have loved to see those games in Bangalore, fair. But like Neha said, as a venue, Bangalore has shown time and time again outside WPL2, even last year when India took on South Africa, make no mistake, the ODIs saw fairly decent crowds, and I'm being very polite over here. They saw very good crowds. So I just don't know, India, South Africa, India, England, India, Australia, एक दो डाल सकते थे. India, Australia and India, South Africa is happening in Vizag. India, England is happening in Indore. India, New Zealand is happening in Guwahati. Just,
Yeah, very shocking. No?
yeah, like maybe like you said, let me also give them the benefit of doubt. BCCI wants to, you know, grow the game by hosting the World Cup in such tier 2, tier 3 venues. But
Akshay, in a marquee event like this, I'd still say use these experiments for bilateral cricket, not a World Cup.
Exactly, right? Like don't bite off more than you can chew. एक काम है आपका वर्ल्ड कप को अच्छे से होस्ट करना. That has to be a primary objective. You cannot do a good job of hosting the event and also expanding it at the same time. हर चीज साथ में करने जाओगे आप. Like I know this is the era of multitasking, but BCCI, that's the last thing we want you to do right now.
And what's also interesting is, chalo, you want to host it in these venues. What about the marketing? Like, when are you going to do the whole trophy tour? Are you going to do those promotional local activities, you know, to actually try and do something? Fine, we are going to, you know, have to live with the fact that these are the venues. But what about the marketing and the promotion side of things, right?
You're so innocent.
तुम एक महीना पहले करोगे ये.
कुछ नहीं होने वाला है. Very innocent. यार बहुत भोली हो आप. बहुत. 3 महीने पहले तो ये अनाउंस हुआ है. You really think they're going to do the whole shindig properly, plan it out? I won't be surprised if the tickets come out a week before the tournament begins. वो भी ऐसे ही in passing. It won't even be announced. हम ही ढूंढते फिरेंगे, अरे टिकट आया क्या, अचानक से टिकट आ जाएगा, and then we might not even get our hands on it and all of that.
But even just talking about the Bengaluru part a little bit, like maybe the ICC and the BCCI just took cognizance, right, of the whole Stampede incident that happened. Do you think that could have probably also played a role with regard to, you know, Bengaluru being capable enough to host as many matches and...
See, valid point. I agree with you. I might not have considered or given it a lot of weightage earlier, to which the only point that comes to my mind is, my only response is, I think it's a fairly binary issue. If you think it was a problem and the stadium infrastructure isn't right up there, you
Mumbai.
wouldn't use it as a host.
Okay,
You would just move on completely.
Yeah.
If you think it's good enough to host the final, I think it's good enough to host a few more
matches.
league stage games.
Yeah.
Exactly. या तो आप बोल दो कि काम नहीं करने वाला, it needs a lot of time to be repaired and all, which is understandable. I'm more than happy to cut them some slack because there's been decent damage that the stadium has taken. तो okay, तो move. Just मुंबई चले जाओ, चेन्नई चले जाओ, कहीं तो चले जाओ. What is this कि आप सिर्फ 5 games दोगे? So ऐसा what is this infrastructural damage कि 5 game host कर सकते हैं,
Not
उससे
more than
ज़्यादा
that,
नहीं.
yeah.
So I don't know. Again, color me very biased. More than happy to admit to it, but आंसर तो मिलने वाला है नहीं कि why they've chosen these venues, what was the thought process, वो तो नहीं पता लगेगा.
And we can rant about it enough on our episodes to just not be heard, right? Screaming into a void sort of a situation as well. Because there were a couple of other venues which were earmarked, right? In that
Trivandrum and
report.
Mullapur, yeah.
Which were eventually dropped, but I'm not sure why they still decided to go ahead with certain venues. We're just going to have to make our peace with it at this point, honestly.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, fingers crossed. Once again, we'll be the most happiest and we'll be the first ones to thank everyone. Yeah, exactly. अगर crowds आते हैं, अगर लोग आते हैं, what we are saying is कि we want more people to actually watch the games. We want these cricketers to feel what it genuinely is like to play a World Cup game, and by that
Play a home World Cup game. Yes.
तो मेरा बस वही है. So once again, let's hope that happens. Games, Vizag, I think, is a beautiful city, and I've heard only good things about the venue too. So hopefully that continues to be the case. Not a bad shout at all. Indore has been a very batter-friendly surface, so let's hope that leads to a few more boundaries being scored, high-scoring run fests that we get to see during the World Cup. I'd love to see, a couple of 300, 350 play 350. That'll also be amazing.
Yeah.
So there aren't just negatives to talk about. There are a few silver linings. Bangalore hosting the final, at least happy to see that happen. And fingers crossed, we get to see a certain team win their first ever event or trophy over here.
I mean, 2025 has been that sort of a year, so wouldn't be surprised if a certain blue team does it.
So let's see, bhai. Let's see क्या होता है.
Sri Lanka समझ लेंगे.
समझ लो भाई, अगर श्रीलंका भी जीतेगा मेरे को चलेगा. I was there when Sri Lanka won their first ever Asia Cup.
Oh.
अरे दम्बुला गया था ना लास्ट ईयर.
Correct.
क्या यार ऐसा ये actor बन जाओ actor. But I wouldn't mind that too. But yeah, that's that from the ODI's World Cup side of things. Talking about the T20 World Cup, उनके भी venues तो announce हो चुके थे. They've also come up with the fixtures. Lords, Bristol, Manchester. भाई मजा तो आएगा जो भी बोलो.
Absolutely. I think for a lot of fans who are looking forward to visiting the UK during that time, or the residents there themselves, I think would absolutely be happy, to see women's cricket finally get its due, the kind of venues. In fact, the Women's ODI World Cup can just take a leaf out of the T20 World Cup, World Cup being hosted by England, and just see how they are going about it. I think we were a little miffed with the groupings side of things. It just felt like, India was in a probably tougher group. But again, not being able to, give it an entire thought. But again, you had some thoughts, no, about the groups.
I felt it could have been divided better to ensure more parity. India, South Africa, Australia, that's 3 strong teams. Again, I get it. Some people might say, "Why New Zealand winner, defending champions?" Fair. I'll give that. I'll concede that too. But even then, England will be grouped with Sri Lanka, New Zealand, Bangladesh.
It just gives me a throwback of England being in that Group B of 2024 World Cup. We're like, yeah, they're definitely making it into the top 4. And then we saw what sort of transpired too, right? But also, actually, we need to take into account the groups will have qualifiers coming in. We'll have teams qualifying, coming from the qualifiers, joining in as well. So, kind of looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, exactly. There'll be 4 teams coming in through the qualifiers. That'll happen early next year. And apologies, Group B is England, New Zealand, Sri Lanka and West Indies, not Bangladesh. So Bangladesh will be a part of the qualifier and then we'll have to come through that route. As far as India is concerned, it's got India, Australia, South Africa and the one team that India has to be grouped with come what may. कभी-कभार तो मेरे को like मजाक ही बना दिया. Like this is supposed to be a global event. This is supposed to be an ICC organized event. I still can't believe this continues to happen. But Pakistan will be there. Again, no disrespect to Pakistan. All I'm saying is, why force fit these games? Just let them be, let them play their games.
And probably this also just pushes me to think about how the grouping is done itself. Is it like a chit system?
Nahin, bhai. But the thing is, for that also, I want to say no, that's not the case.
Okay.
But what I've seen is historically India, Pakistan being grouped together and Australia, England being grouped
From a
together.
broadcasting
Always
and marketing perspective, it just makes sense.
correct, but Australia and England haven't been grouped together this time. So I wonder what the sort of twist here is, or do they want Australia and England to play a knockout game? They think that'll just go through the roofs. They're so confident by home World Cup, England, Sri Lanka, West Indies or New Zealand. अब तो आ ही जाना चाहिए भाई. You might as well just give them a trophy. वैसा वाला scene.
But I think this gave me an idea for one of our podcasts itself to understand how this whole lot system works. If there is a lot system, like how do they decide the groupings as well, right?
I think this is like your वो पेड़ों का आपको जो research करना था ना, ये information कहीं नहीं मिलने वाला. ये बस good idea. On paper, good thing to talk about, but I don't think you'll get any information. So it's not like the FIFA World Cup, this thing जहाँ पे properly सबके सामने चिट उठा के खोल के.
That is such a nice thing to do. Even in tennis, it happens.
Yeah,
right? Not
yeah,
with Grand Slams. But viewers, please let us know what you think about this.
That's
do
true.
the groupings make sense? Do you think there should be a more transparent system of allocating it?
And that also make for great viewing. Like just the auction. Yes. This like just make an event out of it. Star idea दे रहे हैं आपको idea. पैसे बनाओ और पैसे बना लो. अच्छा idea दे रहे हैं. Make an event out of it where I don't know from India you will see कौन है भाई अपना president मैं जैसा ही बोले आता है it's Roger. Oh Devjit Saikia. BCCI secretary is Devjit Saikia. BCCI president is Roger Binney. तो Roger Binney उठा लेंगे वहाँ से कोई और उठा लेगा.
Make for such a spectacle and an amazing event.
Yeah, and it genuinely just everything's up in the air. You never know. It can be अरे कौन आएगा. Yeah, भाई idea दे रहे कुछ तो कर लो.
You heard it first here.
Yeah. रॉयल्टी भी दे दो हम दोनों को. नेहा शेट्टी, अक्षय कुमार स्वामी. But that's that from the World Cup chat, of course. Venues तो पहले से ही पता था. We'd also discussed
And
it.
we felt bad about it as well. That a certain World Cup that's happening in India could have taken some inspiration from there, but it wasn't the case. We had a lot of other things happening geopolitically at the time.
Anyways, I mean, what's done is done. One last bit to discuss, of course, the WBBL draft that happened a couple of days ago. Interesting selections made. There are a couple of misses too. Hayley Matthews, unfortunately, won't be a part of the next season of the WBBL because of a shoulder injury. She, in fact, won't be taking part in the 100, the WCPL, none of the tournaments. So that's a big miss for the defending champs, of course. They did retain Deandra Doughton and then a couple of really interesting buys through and through. Let's just have the graphic out there. Neha, thoughts? What did you make of this?
Starting first off, I think Sydney Sixers not, keeping Sophie Eccleston was an absolute shocker. Her being purchased by Adelaide Strikers was a very interesting move in that regard. For me, I think that had to be the biggest talking point. I think Jemmy also getting retained by Brisbane Heat was a really nice sign, again, not very happy with the graphic and the way she has drawn, but I think some things you're just going to have to live with it. But besides that, did you also have any thoughts in the draft?
The representation of Indians that I was probably a bit disappointed with. Last year, we saw so many Indians being picked, from Yastika to someone like a Hemlatha. It almost seemed like a watershed moment. Ki maybe going forward, we'll see a lot more Indians. This year, 100 mein, there's just one Indian. Now, even when it comes to the tournament, the WBBL, there's only going to be one Indian. So that was a sad bit.
But again, most of the teams have not entirely filled their spots.
That's
right?
true.
So
that's true.
Keep my fingers crossed that we could have some Indians being slotted in later. Because Shikha Pandey again didn't do too badly at Brisbane Heat, defending champs.
Of course. And New Zealand में भी अच्छा किया था. That's where I don't know. As things stand, I don't know. In fact, last year, the Indians wale signing sub happened later in the August-September window. So fair. But right now, Chinel Henry, very happy for her. That was a very interesting buy, and I hope all of these franchises start looking past England and Australia. There are a lot of talents outside too. Dekha karo yaar. Chinel Henry, we need to keep breaking those barriers.
Yeah.
That's why great stuff. I'm not saying Chinel Henry is the best player. It's not a reflection of the player. Like, she's definitely good. I'm not even saying she's bad. But we need more such players. Tab jaake inko bhi थोड़ा भरोसा आएगा कि we can probably look past this. Chamari continues to get gigs like she always does.
Oh yeah, I think someone even tweeted a stat about her numbers continuing to be so poor, her average being somewhere in the 20s.
Yeah, early 20s.
Yeah, really bad, right?
क्या करे भाई see, name, there's also reputation that plays a role, you cannot deny that, but interesting choice that. And when we talk about, of course, Sophie Eccleston, that has to be the biggest coup. Natsiv Brandt, by the way, she also was signed by the Hobart Hurricanes. Massive signing this. They would also be very happy about the fact that she'll be coming there to Hobart. you've already got someone like a Danny Whitehorse, so thoda sa wo English wala bhi aa jayega, and then you add Lindsay Smith to it, so you've got the troika there. But when it comes to some of the other names now, let's just read them out. Adelaide Strikers had retained Laura Wolford. They've gone ahead with Sophie and Tammy Beaumont. And Sydney Sixers, they let go of Sophie Eccleston to bring in Sophia Dunkley. A joke, very bad one at that I made was कि यार गलती से Sophia में कुछ ऐसा mix up हो गया कि क्या, what was it thinking? I get it कि they already had a very good spin duo in Amelia Kerr and Ashley Gardner. So Sophie Eccleston does not add a lot of marginal value. Like when I say marginal value, Sophie Eccleston is a great spinner, but if a surface is spin friendly, you've already got Ashley Gardner and Amelia Kerr. So उन दोनों के ऊपर will Sophie Eccleston add just as much value? Probably the answer is no.
I think it just restores parity again in the WBBL, right? You just can't have the top spinners in just one team.
Agreed.
And Sophie Eccleston can add a lot of value to Adelaide Strikers, who were kind of going for that three-peat and had a very, very forgettable season in that regard. So I think Sophie Eccleston is a massive add, and they'd already had Laura Wolford re-signed with them, right?
Yeah.
So again, I think the overseas contingent is looking really good.
Adelaide Strikers will be happy with Sophia Dunkley. It's an interesting signing. That top order is looking interesting to say the least. Elise Perry, you've got Elisa Healy, of course. Elise Perry has also now been announced as skipper of the side. Then you've got Ashley Gardner also right up top now. Add Sophia Dunkley, Amelia Kerr. So that top order is looking very, very, very solid. Yeah. So fair enough. Samajh mein bhi aata. It's one of those decisions that you want to probably spend a moment or two on to understand and make sense of it. So, theek hai. Apart from that, Brisbane Heat, the only side who have not signed any English players, Jemmy, Chinelle Hendy and Nadine de Klerk. All three more than decent buys, yaar.
Absolutely. They would be really happy with those purchases because these overseas pros will bring in that sort of an experience as well. And even Nadine de Klerk, right? I think she's someone we have rated really highly. I, for one, would really vouch for her to bat higher for South Africa, but they continue to use her as a finisher at number 7, sometimes like even lower. I think in one of those ODIs too, right? The West Indies, South Africa one, they even got Sinola Jafta to like...
So, second ODI... Sanalo batted at number 6 for, I'm guessing it was spin ko khelne ke liye, and Nadine as a consequence of that batted in number 8.
Nondu Miso Shangase coming up at number 3, which we have discussed in our previous
लेकिन
episode.
50 मारा ना.
मारा उन्होंने.
50 मारा. तो अभी मना नहीं कर सकते भाई. मना तो नहीं कर सकते बाकी, but I do. I'm with you.
But at least Nadine de Klerk gets her due, and she will get some good game time at Brisbane Heat. Even in the WPL, she's been a part of Victorious Caffeines, but unfortunately hasn't gotten any opportunities, hasn't gotten as much opportunities as we would have liked to see. So yeah, I think the WBBL is a good time for her to just showcase the world that she's here to stay.
Nadine de Klerk is the only player in the history of WPL to win 2 consecutive titles, so that's saying something. So इसीलिए, yeah. तो और कोई नहीं है वहाँ पे, but बाकी तो यार सब usual suspects है. Sydney Thunder, they re-signed Chamari, went ahead once again with Heather Knight, तो वो भी पता था. Shabnam Ismail, all three of them were a part of their side last year too. When you look at someone like a Perth Scorchers too, Sophie Devine was re-signed, Paige Schofield, that's an interesting name that they've gone ahead with. Chloe Tryon was also a part of their side last year. So देखते हैं क्या होता है यहाँ पे. Some of the names are interesting. Paige Schofield, like I said, will be a name I'll be keeping an eye out on. Maddie Villiers also want to see, because these aren't players who are a part of the first 11 of England, which is why I want to see a lot more of these players.
But they've done well for the Oval Invincibles in the 100, so that probably was something that really warranted their place in each of these squads, and the coaches also probably rate them really highly, and they've done well domestically as well. Hopefully this will be a good exposure for them, and they actually end up doing well.
And Maddie Villiers, if I'm not wrong, both her, Paige Schofield and even Emma Lamb, they are a part of that England, I don't know, Lionesses, what is it called?
The 18?
The 18 that's going, they're going to be 2 games, right? June 24th and 25th, if I'm not wrong. So these guys or these girls are a part of that squad. So it'll be interesting. I'm forgetting who are they being led by. They're being led by someone, but comments mein bataiega, of course.
Grace Scrivens, I think.
No, Scrivens is a part of the squad, but no, I know Raina is there, McDonald Gay. So देखते वो भी. By the way, folks, all of you watching, इतनी दूर तक आए हो, please make sure comments May just spam us in the comments. कुछ भी comment कीजिएगा. We want the video, the podcast to reach out to more people. We want to engage with you guys as well. We have a lot of cool things planned to engage with you. Please comments में spam कीजिए. What do you make of the podcast? Feedback देना है वो दो. Our opinions. What do you think of it? वो भी बताओ. खुद के opinions दो. चाहे तो सिर्फ अक्षय comment डाल दो, नेहा comment डाल दो, वो भी चलेगा. लेकिन comment डालो भाई. हाँ चलेगा. But please, folks. It's a genuine request from all of you guys. Make sure if you're watching this and liking it, like kijiye and also subscribe to us and also comment. Let us know because the more you guys comment, the higher the odds of us reaching more people and the better the views, the more easier it becomes for us to convince ki, you know what, we can do this and we'll continue doing this to our higher ups. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like always, next week we will be back once again, Saturday. Unfortunately, we'll be doing it online going forward for the next few weeks, if not more. Until then, it's a goodbye from both of us. Take care and have a great weekend.